Hello everyone, welcome back to another Songs of Syx video. In this video I'd like to take you through the top 10 things I would have loved to know when I started playing Songs of Syx. The first one is that logistics workers have a far higher carrying capacity than normal people. As you can see, this person is carrying around 10 Shadeh over to somewhere else, and this other one is moving 12 Piva to a little warehouse. If we look over here, we see that the... lost the game. This is a chef who is working. And he just picked up only 4 apples to bring into the restaurant. Let's see if we can find someone working the tavern. Tavern keeper is fetching resources. Let's see what he'll grab. He will grab exactly 4 piva. And this is the same for almost every service worker. And then delivery men, they get a racial scaling, which is displayed over here, right here. Yes, look, they have a skill for that. And that means that they can carry that amount of items. So Cartonian will carry 10, Dundorian will carry 12, etc, etc. And then there's also the technology, logistics, that just increases that by a flat amount for everyone working that. So it is actually way more efficient to put your warehouses close to where they'll be consumed, have warehouse workers carry it over into the warehouse so that your 4 piva carrying tavern keepers don't have to walk as much when they are restocking the tavern or the restaurant or whatever. At some point you'll be dedicating a lot of space to stuff like woodcutting or ranching cattle or maybe just farming grain. But there is a button over here that brings you to the world map, and if you get an army out here you can actually go to these regions and conquer them from either the NPCs or in some cases just being freelance, which you can go to and destroy for your taxes, which go over to save. That's a little bit later. Oh, that's a lot later, but okay. And here we can see that we've taken over this region, we've built a bunch of stuff, and then mushroom, opium, vegetable harvesting. This happens on a yearly cycle, so once a year there will be a harvest. And we'll get these resources shipped in. So we've got mushrooms in 5 days. Vegetables just got shipped out, so there'll be another 15 days. But this pasture over here is just outputting a daily amount of meat and a daily amount of eggs. And this is how you can then get rid of all the raw resource production in your city. If you get a military out, you might notice at some point that not everybody is training and you keep the same amount of troops for a lot longer than you expect. This is because if you set a training target, then the plebs in that division will train to that target before stopping training. This prevents the training of new recruits. If you want to get around this, once you add or expand divisions, first set their training target to 0, and we'll immediately see them swap around. We'll get more recruits. And then once this number of melee training goes down, or all of these bars are green, just gently increase the training level, wait for a while until they stop training again, and then increase it more, and gradually over time get your entire vision over to a higher training level. You can set specific limits on your export depots, so you can either tell them to go fetch from across the map. This is the same way warehouses work. We've got the radius slider over here. You can let them prioritize from other warehouses, and we can have a limit over here that tells them, hey, only take from priority warehouses that have more than this percentage of goods in them. Or you can set up a pull target where they target a specific warehouse. You can tell them like, hey, grab the cut stone from there, but only grab if it's over, let's do 75%. This will keep this warehouse functioning as a supply depot for the rest of your city, and any excess will get sold off. And this one is right next to the masonry, and on this one guy will just keep that full. Let's see what else. Oh, that's it. The next one is that science isn't always purely good. Right here we have 14 people working to produce a little over 16 science. So we have about 1 point something science per person. If we go over to a tech like, let's say, basic farming, We'll see here that it takes 3 science points to unlock this for plus 0.16 improvement. So it's about a little over 2 workers to fill this up, but let's see what actually the benefit is of plus 0.16. Well, in this game we only have grain farms, so that kind of makes it easier. We have 120 people working there, and then over here we can see the bonus. We see that we're getting a plus 91 from experience and nobility. And that plus 0.91, that will get increased by plus 0.16, ending us with a plus of 1.07. I think that is, let me grab the calculator, 1.07 divided by 0.91. That looks like a 17% increase, but it's actually not, because that gets added to 1. So we need to divide by 1.91. So it's 2.07 divided by 1.91. And now it looks like we're only getting an 8% benefit. 8% benefit deferred over 120 people is still really nice. 0.08 times 120 is 9.6 extra people. So let's go ahead and grab that tech, because it's good. And then the next one is 0.15. That's probably also good. 5. And now let's take a break and see what this one is actually. We get a plus 0.15 for 6 science points. So let's assume that that's 5 workers. Let's go over to the grain farm again and have a look at this bonus. So we would go from 2.38 to 2.53. 2.53 divided by 2.38 is a 6% increase. And then if we multiply that by the 120 again, we get a 7.5 worker increase. So just getting a few levels has made the effect of the tech smaller. Also, if we swap out our noble, we'll stop getting this plus 0.83. So then the equation is entirely different again. But point in case, science gets worse, not just the tech gets better for the same amount of effect, but the additive effect also reduces the effectiveness of the tech itself. So right now we're trading, what was it? 4 or 5 workers? 5 workers for getting 7.5 extra workers worth of production on this grain farm, while before it was like 2.5 to 8. So that ratio is going down fast, and eventually it'll break even, and then it will become negative. There are planning tools in the game. You can activate planning mode, which allows you to do whatever you want. And then the jobs will show up gray on the map, which means they are deactivated. If you go out of planning mode and you build more, I'll use the control click to copy over what we're having, then you'll see they're marked in blue again. This means they're active. I'm going to remove these and that. Next up, there's also an activate job and a suspend job. If you activate planned jobs, they'll become active. And if you suspend jobs that are active, they'll become planned again. But this is really difficult to see. I think that's nice. Okay. And then we can suspend these jobs, make them gray. That's still difficult to see, but bear with me. And then we can activate them again. And if we have the activate job tool, if we hold down shift, we switch over to suspend jobs. So we can activate, hold down shift, deactivate, and then the same thing is true for suspend jobs. We can hold down shift to activate jobs and then suspend them again. So that's great. I like to hotkey one of these and then use that one. So I've got left Control A to activate jobs, and I know to always be holding down shift if I want to deactivate jobs. And then remove jobs. So this is something that is a little more opaque maybe, or implies a certain game style, which I think is unintuitive to newer players. What I see happen a lot is people focus on providing these people with as many services as possible, and then eventually getting stuck because they've spread themselves so thin that they're providing these people with food and clothing and furniture and all sorts of services, and now they can't get enough food to get more people in. I think innately this game isn't about making your people happy, it's about making your people happy enough that more people want to move in. So if your happiness is at 100%, you should probably be letting in more people. Let's let in some Kryptonians, and then they come in, and then happiness decreases again. That's actually good, because it means that we're not making them so happy that we're wasting resources on making them happy. You're always trying to expand your population, and you make your population happy enough that allows you to do that. Speaking about making plebes happy, plebes like to eat food. It's something that they do. Over here in the food tab, you can see that once every 50% of days they will eat. And when they eat, they will take the amount of food that you give them access to. So over here we have 1.5 food servings. They eat every other day. So they eat 0.75 food every day on this setting. And if we give them just one meal, their food serving fulfillment goes down to 0, because that's just what they need to live. And giving them access to a little bit of extra food gives them a massive amount of fulfillment. This is a big boost to growing towns, and it's one of the, well, if you have a good food production setup, then just expand that to 1.5, and per person, and you'll have 2 points of fulfillment. Compare that to getting a hearth, which is 1.59, which of course you need. But a bathhouse in and of itself is only 1.5. So you're better off providing your people with a little more food than building them a bathhouse, which is very tech resource and, well, not really labor intensive, but you need a lot of different materials. You need to maintain that thing. You need quite a bit of tech to unlock the bathhouse, and food is usually the first thing you produce, and it's a pretty straightforward thing to overproduce. That brings me back to the food stall, because when plebes eat their food servings, they can actually only consume this amount of food servings at a food service. So that either means a restaurant or a food stall. And if they cannot find a restaurant or food stall, then they might pick something up directly out of a warehouse, or from the output on a pasture, or just lying out in the field somewhere, and then they'll eat that. But they'll only ever eat a single unit, and they'll eat whatever you allow them down here. If we disable all of this, then our plebes won't starve, because they still have access to the food stall, where they can grab whatever they want. But what this will prevent is that if they can't reach a food stall, they'll maybe see like, oh, there's some bread in a warehouse over there, but no, they are not allowed to eat bread off the floor. So this is usually something I disallow. I'm not sure why on this site I didn't do it, but yeah, try to prevent them from eating or drinking off the ground. Make sure they eat from the food stall so that they get the service fulfillment from that. Maybe if you give them the correct type of food, they'll get a food preference fulfillment as well. And then that also allows you to just move up to bigger food servings for a big fulfillment boost. At first the game might tempt you into decorating, but decorations cost resources to make, and everything that costs resources to make costs maintenance to maintain. So just do that. You see that our people start making all these trees for us. They add like these nice little stone details despite only costing wood. Because make no mistake, a big tree costs 12, a smaller tree 6, and then the smallest one costs 1. But over here, we see that we are accruing 1.5 wood worth of maintenance on these 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11 trees. So building these trees and building nice courtyard might feel nice, but they can quickly rack up to become a waste of resources if you're not careful. Last up, plebes really like it if you have money. It may be bad to hold money because of inflation destroying your currency, but if you have 800 money in the bank per plebe in your settlement, you will get a nice fulfillment bonus of 1. Let's see if we have an import depot on this map anywhere. Yes, we do. Here we are. We can actually ask this import depot to respect that limit. So we have 1,000 people times 800 is 800,000. We just type that into this field. Let's do the cotton maker as well. Am I actually exporting anything? Yes, I'm exporting furniture. Do I have any? Where is this coming from? Are you just grabbing from the warehouse over there? Okay, let's make a bit of money real quick. Talk to this guy. Hello. Offer. Can you buy all my leather armor? And maybe a little bit of clothing. No pottery. Yeah, I can sell you cloth. Fine. There's some wood. Some stone. A bunch of rations. He'll give us 300k. There we go. And now that we've done that, we can go to the government. We need to let the game tick for a little bit. And there we have it. We have 0.37 fulfillment just from having a bit of money in the bank. And now, you know, our money gets destroyed by inflation instead of trading it all away. By setting a limit on the import depots that supply the goods into your city, you can choose how much of this, how much money, sure, we'll trade. How much money you'd like to keep in stock, and that will determine how much of this riches fulfillment you aim for. Because if you go over it, you'll start trading that money away. If you go under it, you'll have the fulfillment, but you'll just be trading inflation against the riches fulfillment. So those are my top 10 tips for what I would have loved to have known when I started the game. If you have any things that you'd like to share, please leave them in the comments below. And I'm at 89 subscribers right now, guys, so 2 more and I'll get 100, which is really cool, I think. Anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, and see you next time. Good luck!